Welcome to the Evangelism podcast. I'm Daniel King, and I'm excited about telling people about Jesus. Today we have a special guest. His name is Vidar Ligard. Did I say that right?
Yeah, we got it almost. Vidar Ligard.
Vidar Ligard. So hopefully I don't mess it up too much. And Brother Vidar is a missionary over in East Africa and is planting Bible schools and also doing a lot of work coaching local pastors. And so tell me a little bit about how you coach people.
Sure. So we've done work over there since 2006. We've got a 2-year training program, and we found out that a lot of pastors, they come to us and they might have 30, 40 members, and a lot of times they'll grow to 200, 250, 300, that range somewhere. And that's about the range where if you don't start delegating your pastoral care at that point, you're going to be overwhelmed with every single church member wanting to have personal contact with you for everything they need. And so you're overwhelmed, you can't grow any further. And so we saw the need for graduates to be coached. How do you get to the next level from here? And it's interesting because in ministry, most people don't think much of coaching. You think of Bible colleges and getting some training.
When I think of coaching, I usually think of a football coach or a sports coach, someone who is out there telling people to do more exercises.
Yes, exactly. Somebody like Michael Jordan, just, pick any top player in any field you want. Every single one of them is going to have a coach. And you would think there's something even wrong with the top player if they didn't have a coach. Well, it's the same in the field of business. Top producers in the field of business, they all have mentors, they all have coaches, and sometimes multiple coaches in various areas. And, we've got the church movement here in the United States, the ARC movement, and there's a strong component of coaching with that church planting movement, and they're doing pretty well, one because the financial model that they have, but also because of the strong element of coaching.
I think they're very successful for two reasons. One is the coaching aspect, and then the other aspect is developing a system that can be implemented by multiple people. I mean, that's what makes McDonald's so successful, is they have a system that works even for the lowest common denominator of worker. Any worker that McDonald's hires, they have developed a system to teach them how to make McDonald's French fries. And every McDonald's in the world, the French fries taste exactly the same because there is a system. And so you're developing this coaching system, coaching people how to be pastors. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. It's, in a classroom, it's very difficult to tell people how to do children's ministry successful. You need some hands-on. And so you can try a few things with labs, but unless you're, in a church where you're seeing the growth of these kids over time, that's when you really start to see, okay, this is what really works and this is what doesn't work, say in children's ministry. So what we're working to do is have different modules in this coaching program, where one module is how to do effective children's ministry. A module that we're working on now is youth or teenager ministry, bringing experts that really have done well in that field, and then taking the ones that we're coaching and say, hey, this is a way that teenage and youth ministry can be done really well. Pastoral care is another area. So we take the various areas that you deal with on a day-to-day basis in a church, and then we have packages for how we coach that. We start off with personal growth, and that's where everything starts.
Okay, so take me from the beginning all the way through the end. You start with personal growth. What are some of the things that you coach people in the area of personal growth?
You can make things simplistic. You've got two kinds of people. You've got the kind of person that they do the same thing day in and day out. They're in the same segment of society that their parents were, because they have the same habits that their parents had. So they grew up working class, they're going to be working class. If they grew up upper middle class, they're going to be upper middle class. That's the majority of society. But then you have some that are really have a growth mindset. They're always looking to learn more. For most people, whenever they finish high school or finish college, that's when their education stops. But then there is this other growth kind of segment of society, and they don't stop reading books. They don't stop listening to podcasts whenever they're done with formal education. And these are the ones that actually move society forward. They're the pioneers in society, if you will. And so the first part of our coaching program then is to help somebody to understand all this and absorb a growth mindset, so that sure, they might be coming to us and ask, resources in different areas, but somebody with a true growth mindset will no longer be dependent on me or anybody else. They'll be resourceful. They will be a person that will find resources in whatever areas they're struggling. And if somebody can get that one down, I think that's 75% of being on the way to success right there, because now you become unstoppable basically.
They're looking for solutions. Okay, so it starts with personal growth, and then where do you take them? What's the next step?
Well, at that point, it depends on the particular church. Like one of the churches we're working with now, they're really working on strengthening their small groups. So we help them in that particular area. We've got a system where, we give pastors about a 1 hour a week coaching session. And so at that point, it's tailored to the various ones. We also have a segment where every 2 weeks we do a 1 hour conference call. That's a group. And so then we talk more about current issues that we see the most people needing help with. So 2 different tracks, if you will.
How many pastors are you coaching right now?
On the call, we have about 80 pastors every 2 weeks. The other set, it varies. We started with 7 and we had several drop out, and you find out that a lot of people want coaching, but they don't want to change. And I think any coach will tell you the same thing. So right now, that's during this segment, we're actually down to 1 church.
Okay, so you're with those 7, you're meeting with once a week.
Yeah.
And you're addressing their concerns, helping them with their needs.
Yep.
But you've got 80 that are part of the conference call.
Yes.
And so do you plan to expand and to do more?
Yeah, we are, looking at our own resources and looking at different ways to do that. And that's why we have both the conference call and the individual coaching as well, to see what works best for the most amount of people, and how can we be the most effective of duplicating ourselves.
So I've preached at a lot of churches in East Africa. There's a wide variety of churches.
Absolutely.
Some are out in the villages, just a little hut with a dirt floor, chickens running around, and some of the leaders there are very effective. I went to one church one time, and this is how he was coached. I preached in the church, and there were people hanging in through the windows. It was packed out, probably about 250 people in this little tiny hut, dirt floor, chickens running all over the place. And I looked over, and he had his Bible, and on top of his Bible, he had a book that was covered in duct tape. I said, "What's that book there?" And he says, "Oh, that's from T.L. Osborne, the great missionary evangelist." He said, 20 years ago, T.L. Osborne came to my country and did a crusade, and he gave my father this book. So my father preached every Sunday from T.L. Osborne's book. And he said, last year my father died and I became the pastor, and so now I'm preaching from this book. And so that was the extent of what coaching he had. He had one of T.L. Osborne's books, which of course are tremendous resources, and it provided 20 years worth of sermons in that church.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so that's one level. I've also been to some very large churches in Nairobi that have huge buildings, very successful Bible schools. They have daughter churches that they've planted all over Kenya, and they've got great systems. So how do you take someone at one level and train them to be more effective in what they do?
Well, you have to look at where is this particular church at, and in a big church, you've got many wheels that are spinning, and you can't make every single wheel spin faster in the same week that you're talking with the head pastor. You just kind of have to pick an area that they would like to grow in, and usually it doesn't matter the size of the church. They always have some area that they realize that we can use a little help in this area. So it starts out by doing a little diagnostic, asking some questions and seeing where we're at, and then just like in sports, whatever level they're on, you have to start there and then help them go to the next level.
Now, earlier you said that everyone could use a coach. So do you have a coach?
Yes, I do.
Now tell me about your coach and what your coach challenges you to do.
Yeah, so I have coaches and mentors in different areas. When it comes to the ministry, right now we're working with the business coach, because ministry is both spiritual, but there's also a business side. And so we are with Thrive Time Show in Jenks, Oklahoma.
With Clay Clark. And actually, he just recently started helping to coach me in my ministry too. And he has a very successful business podcast, and he challenged me to start this Evangelism podcast. And so already I've seen how seeing someone be successful in an area and start coaching can help me be more successful. So what are some of the things that you've learned in your coaching relationship?
Well, one of the things I really learned is that the more I talk to people, everybody's got a coach and in different areas. And so you just need to look at where do I need to grow, and then find a mentor or a coach in that area. Management skills is one of the things that we've learned. The day-to-day operations, I was working 20, 30 hours a week, and through better processes, better management, I'm able to manage our teams now, 40 individuals, with 3 to 5 hours a week, just because we're using better methods and better processes.
So it's a much better use of your time.
Absolutely.
You've also written a book called A Fork in the Road, and this book has a lot of principles that help with coaching. Probably use some of your extra time you found in order to write this book.
Yep,
so tell
right.
me some of the content of this book and how it can help people.
It really is a book on personal development. I think everybody wants some level of financial security. Everybody wants some level of success, which success is not really a destination. It's a journey. It's, a successful person is successful every year, just not in their 80th year. But it's the personal growth principles and how to become a resource. It's principles like what we were paid last month as a result of the value of the services and products that we provided somebody else, whether we're employed or in business or even in ministry. The gifts that people gave, they are related to the value of the services and whatever we did in ministry very often. That type of thing. And then there's a whole section in this book about taking your vision for life, turning that into measurable goals. A lot of people say, I want to start a business. Well, that's wonderful, but are you talking about being a one-man plumber, or are you talking about having a corporation with 50 employees? You got to be able to measure those goals with a timeline. Then you plan for how are you going to reach and achieve those goals. And then you got to make sure you stay on target each and every single day, that what you do is not just provide lunch for the kids and send them to school, but there's got to be some tasks each and every day that has to do with your goals and your vision in life.
That's tremendous. Well, if you're listening and you want to be mentored by Brother Vidar or know more about him, probably the best way to get started is by getting a copy of his book. It's available on Amazon. And tell me what the website of your ministry is.
Yeah, so you can go to safarimission.org. That's safarimission.org. You can find information about the book. You can buy it from there, or you can go to Amazon. A Fork in the Road is the name of the book. But contact us. There's a contact button there. Reach out to us, and we'll see how we can help you get started.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel, for having us. Enjoyed it.
Bless you.
Daniel King is on a mission to save 1 million souls a year, but he can't do it alone. Would you consider sowing a financial seed today? To give, please visit www.kingministries.com.